Have you ever encountered something strange or evil in your town or city? I live in the capital of Brazil, Brasilia, and for those who don't know, here on the capital, we have a lot of underground spaces for alternative events and stuff. Renato Russo, a famous Brazilian rock star, played on those several times, and here on the capital is where of the most important politicians live, and my father is one of them. Anyway, I frequent some of the exclusive underground spaces around here because of my family. It is usually just parties, with drugs and a lot of hoes, of course. Now let me start. I am at one of these parties, getting high with a bunch of older men. They talk to my father at the party about something, and he seems really upset about it. I don't really pay much attention to it. Some hours later, about 2 a.m., they invite me to a more exclusive place inside the Q5. It's the name of the underground club, Pick related. I didn't even know there was more of it. I accept it because I was curious. We pass the security and go behind a black curtain. A red fucking room. Seriously, from the ceiling to the chairs, everything was red. But I assumed it was just some type of strange decoration. There is a couple of people fucking on the beds around the room. We go through it. We go downstairs to a more underground place. We pass another security, and the old guys open a door that was locked. A black room, but not entirely like the red one. Just the ceiling, floor and walls, with an expensive looking glass table in the middle of it, with some more old guys smoking cigars, playing cards, and drinking whiskey, with women on their laps and everywhere on the room. One of the men that was with me starts to whisper some stuff to the men on the table. I am really confused and ask one of them what is going on. He tells me to shut up. At this point I am really high and upset, and I try to leave. The security does not allow me. I am starting to freak out. One of the men on the tables talks to me. Says a bunch of political stuff to me, like I'm going to be a big politician, just like my father, that I have a brilliant future ahead of me, and that they want me to become a part of their society. I ask what the society is about. He says he can't reveal to me before I accept. I really like this sort of strange stuff, that's why I frequent X, so I accept. He says that I will receive a message on my email. Me and the old guys leave. My father starts to scream with them, and they tell him to shut up. He obeys. We come back to home silent. Today, I woke up and checked my email, and I received this image. It says, exactly at 11 p.m., some coordinates, don't be late, don't bring anyone, PGTH. I checked the coordinates, and it is nearby, but it's in the middle of nowhere. I am scared, to be honest, and it's already 7 p.m. I don't know what to do. What can I expect, X? OP here. It was strange, but okay. Not sure if they were Masonic or not. Went to the place. There was a bunch of people in black capes and a fire in the center. They gave me a cape. They prayed to God to bless me. Made me drink wine. Bunch of ritual stuff I did not understand. After the stuff, I talked to one of the men there. He said that they help each other, and God helps them. Now I am a brother of blood. If I ever need work, help with justice, this kind of stuff, I can ask them. Every big decision in my life, there needs to be a group to decide it. They will send another message to my email with information for the next meetup. Just woke up. Posting this right now. Still confused. This is my first time writing a Greentext story, but it is pretty spooky, so you guys might like it. 19 at the time. Girlfriend and I really love Silent Hill. Find out it is loosely based on Centralia, Pennsylvania, and the mine fire that occurred beneath it. Live in Connecticut at the time, so only a few hours away from there, so we make a day trip to check it out. We binge horror movies the night prior to get us in a spooky mood. Arrive and explore the place, checking out all the abandoned buildings. All roads apart from the main road are in a state of serious disrepair. Decide to go down a side road in my beater Dodge Neon. Hear a loud thud and scraping, and I stop the car. Get out and check what the fuck I just hit. Turns out there must have been a pole cemented into the road, and then cut away at some time, since a good 4 inches was sticking out of the road, but covered in grass. Wheel is completely wrecked, and I don't have a spare. Call AAA, and told a truck will be out eventually, since we are so far from the nearest garage. It is midsummer, so the sun is out until late, so we just say fuck it, and keep exploring, waiting for AAA to call with an ETA for the truck. It gets later and later without any updates, so we grab some stuff from my car and go to the town hall that has one working streetlight in front of it in the town. We sit down and just chill and play cards. Midnight, and still no update from AAA. Called back, and still given an eventually answer. The town is completely pitch black, except for this one streetlight. Suddenly, a car pulls up in front of the town hall we are at. Someone gets out, car drives away, and this person stares at us as we sit under the streetlight and just stare dumbfounded back at them. Person walks toward the building while looking at us, but it is hard to see their face since it is so dark out. Person opens the door to the town hall, which is pitch black inside, goes in, and shuts the door behind. Girlfriend and I look at each other confused, since we thought seeing two teenagers alone might set off some red flags, and someone would check if we were alright, or whatever. Go back to playing cards, thinking it was just a weird encounter in a spooky town. Another car pulls up, different make and model, and the same thing happens again. Again, can't make out their face, stares at us, and goes inside. This repeats a handful of times, which leads to us becoming increasingly creeped out and nervous. Around 2 a.m., a truck finally arrives. Helps us with a new spare, and we get the hell out of there. Still no idea to this day what the fuck was going on with those people. First pick is the building and where we were sitting. Second is the road I was heading towards when I broke down. Eastern Ohio is full of fucking crazy people as well as strange shit. I live outside a small town in Amanda and have a quick anecdote. Be camping with my 2 friends on my grandparents' farm. Make a few trips via ATV to a camp we cleared out 2/3 of a mile from the farm. Set up 50 feet from this old 50s pickup we found, abandoned in the middle of the woods. October. Start fire as sun goes down at 7ish p.m. About an hour goes by. Only have had about 3 beers. Just enjoying stories. Suddenly, bipedal movement crunches the leaves from our left, just out of sight of the fire. 2 of 3 of us have experience in the woods, know the difference between 2 and 4 legs crunching through the underbrush. Yell out and demand whoever it is to identify themselves. They don't. It keeps walking towards the abandoned truck. Suddenly stops. Quiet for what feels like hours, but only lasted 30-ish seconds. The sound of many coyotes fills our ears from 50 feet to our left, where the walking started. Turn on our ATV and shine the 12-volt floodlight we have attached to the ATV. Eyes. Eyes everywhere. At least a dozen sets. All 3 of us pile onto the ATV, leaving fire, beer, and gear behind. Shining light behind us the whole time, back to the farm, but nothing chased. Never really talk about it again. I'm not much of a storyteller, but this was the craziest shit that ever happened to me. Spooky stories from the Philippines. All of these stories are from my mom, who was born and raised in Manila. Be mom, hanging out with family in a smaller town, maybe 20 miles from their home in Manila. Uncle leaves on motorcycle to go hang out with his buddies in the city. Everything is normal. Maybe an hour later, they see my uncle outside, but they never heard him pull up on his motorcycle, which was quite loud. Uncle doesn't really talk for some reason. Says he just wants to rest, in an odd, kind of monotone way. Uncle is the most talkative guy 99% of the time, so my mom thought this was odd. Everyone just kinda chalks it up to him being tired or drunk, and doesn't think much of it. Lola, grandma, makes him his bed in the bedroom. Uncle goes to bedroom to go to sleep. This was odd, because he had only been out an hour, and he usually spent the whole night hanging out and drinking with his buddies. 30 minutes later, They get a call from the Manila Police Department. They tell us our uncle was struck and killed by a truck while on his motorcycle. Lola, Grandpa, tells them that isn't possible because he came back to our house half an hour ago. Check bedroom. Nothing. Nothing rearranged. Nothing moved. No signs that someone had touched anything or even been in there. Window was permanently jammed closed, so exit would have been impossible. Mom and rest of family swear they saw him come in, and they even made the bed for him and interacted with him. Pick related is a similar Honda Super Cup to the one that my uncle had. Fast forward another year. Mom is driving with Lolo at night, riding in Jeep, on a small road. They notice a knocked over motorcycle lying on the side of the road. The bike looks like it was in pristine condition, not a speck of dirt on it. No fucking way it's perfectly clean after riding on a dirt road. Stop the Jeep. Lolo gets out, makes my mom wait in the car. They see what looks like a man laying face down in some tall grass, 15 feet away from the bike. Lolo starts walking towards the fallen man. Suddenly it clicks. Motorcycle she saw lying there was the same exact model my uncle rode the night he died. Calls frantically for my Lola. Lola runs back, thinking she got hurt or something. Tell Lola that was the bike that uncle had rode. Lolo doesn't say anything, but looks like he realized something was off. Drive as fast as they can to the nearest phone to get help. Family members and neighbors come out to help. Go back to location. Bike is completely gone. The fallen man is gone. Spend the rest of the night yelling uncle's name and searching surrounding area. Never see a sign of him again. Later, my mom asked my Lola who the man was that he saw. Says he believes with all of his heart that he saw my uncle's face on that man. I hope you guys enjoyed this experience, and I'll work on getting more weird stories from my mom and Lola. I believe this story 100% because us Filipinos are very superstitious about this kind of thing, and I know my own family would not lie to me, so if you think it's fake, you can fuck off. Don't really believe in ghosts or whatever, but I had some weird shit happen in my preteen years at this old colonial era house we lived in a small town called Newmanstown, Pennsylvania. The door to the attic was in my room. Our first night there, I heard what sounded like metal rods fall over at the foot of the basement stairs and against the door. Kinda freaked me out, but I figured maybe it was just gravity. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. I was maybe 9 or 10. I remember hiding under the covers and trying to scream to my mom and dad, who were watching TV downstairs, but I was so freaking scared that no sound would come out. Then the attic door opened, and I heard feet limping across my room, past my bed. Then they stopped at the foot of my bed for a second before shuffling away towards my parents' room, which faced the foot of my bed. I eventually got a scream out and jumped out of bed, running downstairs to tell them. When my dad checked the attic door, there were a bunch of metal rods that had fallen over that weren't there when we did the tour of the house. Leftovers from the cleanup crew, or whoever was there before us. Things got weirder. Eventually my room was moved to a different room that was still being renovated when we moved in. When the wallpaper was taken off, there was handwriting on the walls. 1760 something, it rained all day, among other things. Once I moved into the room, I started getting sleep paralysis and having awful dreams. I dreamt there was a graveyard of demon skulls buried under the house. I dreamt that my mom was murdering locals and hiding their bodies in the attic. I would dream about being locked up in secret rooms hidden in the walls. Once, our bathroom light came on in the middle of the night. My mom yelled at me for turning it on. From under my blankets, I yelled that I was still in bed and it wasn't me. Got up, turned the light off, went to bed. The light turned on. Mom yelled, thinking I was goofing around. I'd later hear her saying things when she thought I wasn't around. She'd tell my dad about feeling like someone was in their room, watching her sleep, or she'd feel like she was being followed in the house. I once had something pull on my shirt while taking a laundry basket to my parents' room. It was such a distinct tug that my first thought was not ghost, but rather that my shirt got caught on the corner of something. But when I turned around, I was too far away from anything that would have snagged my shirt. But probably one of the weirdest occurrences was when I was still staying in the middle room by my parents' room when we first moved in. The door had one of those old-timey locks, kind of like pick related. It was the second and last night I'd ever heard noises from the attic. I was so scared, but my parents were kind of sick of my nonsense ghost stories about the house, so I just stayed quiet and hoped that the sounds would stop. Luckily, my dad got up for a drink of water. The noises stopped just a second or two before I heard him get up. He walked past my bed and out of the bedroom door, closing it behind him. Since I was still scared to be alone, I decided to get out of bed and go get a drink to shake my nerves off. When I went to open the door, it was locked. Weird, because it can only lock from the inside, and you really have to give the locking switch a lot of force because the metal was so rough and worn. We lived in that house for years, and I'd always try and get that door to lock from the outside, and never could. Lots of other weird stories about that house. Waking up to my bed shaking, voices, multiple cats we owned at separate times, being obsessed with a certain area of the wall at the bottom of the main floor stairs. Super creepy basement with a weird back room full of old newspapers from the 1800s. That house was the only time I ever experienced paranormal shit. I've got one. This happened to me back in 2014 at a hotel/apartment complex in Alabama when I was 17. I was feeling kinda lonely, so I went on Omegle to find people to chat with. Ended up meeting this chick on there and we got along, so she gave me her name on Kick and we continued chatting over there. Her name was Kat, if I remember correctly. After talking for a few days, she eventually tells me that she has ghosts and negative spirits around her. Initially, I was thinking she was just trying to be edgy because she was gothic and into spooky stuff, until she started sending me videos. In her videos, you could see shadow people darting around her house, manifesting a couple of feet in front of her camera. Crazy shit like that. Kinda creeped me out, and told her as much, telling her I hope they go away and stuff like that. That night, after she sent me those videos, I started to hear something crinkling the plastic shower curtain in the bathroom. Started out lightly, so didn't think too much of it at first, but it would progressively get louder and faster over the course of a few minutes, until it would just stop, be quiet for an hour or two, then start back up again. Got pretty intense at times. I would also get a really strong feeling of being watched all night. I had been there for about a week before I started talking to her, and never heard that happen at night until she sent me those videos. Pretty freaked out at this point, but continued to talk to her, and over the next couple of days, as I stayed in contact with her, it would keep happening at night. Then after like 4 or 5 days, I was just too freaked out, thinking this is happening because of all the shit attached to her is now attached to me. I broke off contact with her, deleted Kick, and never went back. When I did, the noises at night and feeling of being watched stopped immediately. I kind of wished I saved the video she sent, but I'm also kind of glad I didn't. I don't know if weird stuff will continue if I did. This happened back in Mexico, back in the 50s or 60s, as told by my grandparents that migrated from there. One summer night, the small Pueblo was plagued by strange lights in the sky. People reported seeing colorful, glowing orbs floating above their homes. No one could explain what they were or where they came from. As the nights went on, the lights grew closer and closer, until they were directly over the town. People started to panic as the light seemed to be getting brighter and more intense. Suddenly, the lights started to move toward the ground, as if they were descending toward the town. People ran for cover, hiding in their homes and praying that the lights would not find them. But no matter where they hid, the lights always seemed to follow, shining brighter and brighter through the windows. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the lights vanished, leaving the town in darkness once more. But the town was never the same after that night. People reported strange disappearances, and strange noises echoed through the streets, and even to this day, no one knows what those lights in the sky truly were. Some say UFOs, Some say angels. Some say they were bruises. Be me, walking at 3 a.m. around the city, enjoying the nighttime air and escape from people. It was a very still night, no wind, but a completely overcast sky, so no stars. Coming up on a tennis court next to a park. Begin to hear what I can only describe as a house cat being murdered slowly with a dull instrument. High alert, what the fuck. Wonder if maybe a cat needs help. Sounds get louder as I approach the tennis court. Upon seeing the tennis court, there is a man hunched over something. He is making jerky, lurching movements. For some reason the movements fill me with a deep fear, like I'm looking at something so dark I cannot understand it. Realize suddenly that cat noise is way too loud to be a fucking cat. Realize the man is making these noises. As I pass he stands and begins yowling and lurching even harder. Legitimately looks like his body is being animated by puppet strings. Don't want to draw his attention, so I continue walking fast and quietly out of the scene. Noises get louder and louder as we leave. 5 blocks away, and his howls are echoing throughout the neighborhood. Realize he is moving in my direction. Run to my apartment, nope the fuck inside for the rest of the night. Ever since then, I am followed by a fox whenever I go out at night. Be my grandma, 13 years old, living in a shithole backwoods China. Mountains near the village were growing lychees, so she and her mom were foraging for food there. Already night by the time they decide to walk home. New moon. While walking, Grandma suddenly hears a horrifying sound that resembles a bird's cry. She looks around for the sound source and sees a little old lady in blue standing in the rice paddies. Little old lady has no head. She yells to her mom that there is a headless old lady in the fields. Grandma's mom just tells her to hurry up and keep walking. They start speed walking home now, with Grandma's mom pushing Grandma ahead of her. Every few steps, Grandma's mom makes her put her left hand on her forehead and brush it off, to ward off evil spirits. All the while, Grandma keeps hearing the crazy bird sounds. They finally make it back home, and even in the village, Grandma can hear the cries from far off. She asks her mom about it, but her mom actually didn't see or hear anything, but believed her anyway. Grandma asks around the village to see if anyone can hear the sounds, but no one else can. Sounds stop after a while. Still has no explanation for what happened all those years ago. I actually have one from Mexico. If anybody could please educate me on what it might have been, I would appreciate it. I've been trying to figure it out for years. Friend is visiting pals in Mexico City. He invites me to come. I don't know them, but okay. We get there, and friends want to take a ride to the outskirts of the city. Can't remember exactly where. One of the guys showing us around tells us there is this spot where he says the trees bleed. It's out back, behind this guy's house in the mountains. I'm worried about narcos, but friend wants to see it. We drive further into mountains and stop at this one house that is off by itself. Owner is out front. Guys ask if we can check out the bleeding trees. Guy is super friendly and says sure. Grabs a machete and leads us out back. Thinking we're going to get beheaded, he stops at these weird trees and hacks at them. They make a hissing sound. Then this dark red liquid oozes out. Not rusty orange and not like sap. This was deep red and looked exactly like blood. Guy even rubs it on his fingers and shows us. It dries like blood too and smells like it. My face went. Anybody know what the fuck this was? Natural explanation preferred. I don't want to hear some haunted tree bullshit. Well, since some of you are sharing your stories, here is mine. Nordestino here. Born in Alagoas, but I grew up in Pernambuco. Went to Alagoas to visit my grandmother. She lives in a small fisherman village, Barra Grande, a single street away from the sea. Went to have a walk on the beach. It was about 4:30 p.m. After walking for like half an hour, I decided to go back. I noticed it was taking kinda too long to get back to the village. Thought maybe I was just tired and I kept walking. I start to get a little creeped out since it is taking too long and it is impossible to get lost on the beach. There is literally only one direction that you can go when you want to return. But there is no point of reference I can use. The village is remote, and there is only the sea to my right and an extensive coconut tree forest on my left. To make things weirder, I notice it's 5:30 p.m., but the sun is nowhere near to set, and the sun here sets from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., more or less, depending on the time of the year. I keep walking until 6 p.m. Sun's still nowhere near to set, and I notice that there are no birds singing, which is almost impossible to happen here, outside of when we have a heavy storm. But the day is clear, and the sun is still up. Now I get really nervous. I sit down to think, and thought that maybe I could have just missed the village, and walked away in the wrong direction. But I dismiss the idea, because there is lots of boats on the beach in front of the ville, and also a bar that goes almost into the water, and I couldn't miss that. So I just get up and continue to walk. It is about 7:40 p.m. The sun in the same fucking place. Also, I notice there is no fucking seashells. I usually walk near the water, and there's some crustaceans that I can catch when I go to the beach, Tatsuya, but now I can't fucking see a single one. My heart starts racing, and I start running. I just want to get home. I see a coconut tree that is kind of far away from the others, and get a feeling that I should walk between it and the other trees. Immediately after doing that, I start to hear the birds singing again. Rushed ahead, and saw one of the boats from the villa at the beach. After getting to the boat, I find the village and run back to the house. Look at my wristwatch, 8:15 p.m. Look at the clock on the wall, 5 p.m. I told everyone what happened, but no one believed me. Haven't told this story in more than 15 years. It was 2002, and I was 13 at the time. Sorry if I murdered English. I'm more of a looker, and I just wanted to share. My heart just started racing again, from just remembering it. Also, I can't explain the weird feeling I had during the experience. It was like everything was hyper-real, like I was completely aware. And this one is from my cousin. My family went to a city in the interior of the country for a party that the city have every year for some Catholic saint. There is a city monument called the Standing Stone, which is just a large rock that is propped up. The monument is about 5 minutes away from the actual city, in the middle of a wooded area. I don't know the term in English, but it is dense caatinga vegetation. Cousin, 14 at the time, decided to go alone to the monument. Few moments later, he comes back crying, and with his hands and arms covered in blood. They wash him, but don't find a single scratch. When he stops crying, he says that when he got to the monument, he put both of his hands on the stone. After that, he could not let go of the stone, and felt that the stone was very cold, and told that the stone was red and had blood leaking from it. He said that somehow he was able to get off the stone and run straight back to us. I had never seen him cry. He was crying like a young child. The next day in the morning, 2 of my uncles go to the monument to check things. Stone is completely normal, grey, just like it always has been. No signs of blood anywhere. Then go to the church to talk with the local padre. The padre says that a long time ago, the stone was where people used to tie up slaves and whip them, but no one from here had ever had any similar experience. That same year, the sister of my grandmother that lived in the city died, and we never went back there. Be me, 10 years old. Me and the boys jumped the fence on a football field, some blocks away from our homes to play. We did this multiple times before. It consists of a 3-meter brick wall with holes we made in it for hands and feet, plus another 2 meters of chain link fence. I am last to make the jump. Don't see anyone as I land. I came with 3 of our friends, and it is a massive open area with a single building at the very end. No way they could have ran there before I made the climb. Decide to walk there anyway to check it out. Nothing. Come back to entry point. Jump back to other side. As I land, there are about 10 adults there, including their parents and my parents. One of them is crying hysterically, the other's in shock. What the fuck? The men force the gate open and go in with bars and pieces of wood. I am confused. They tell me the devil was there. Huge thing, black cloak. They say it stopped chasing them and came after me. They say they screamed at me and made a break for it. Never saw or heard shit. They take us all into one of my friends' home. Everyone gathered around us in a circle. Priest comes in to pray for us. We are forbidden from ever going near the place. Still weird thinking about the fact that all this shit was happening while I was taking a walk across a very silent football field. This happened a while ago, next to the place where I grew up. Elderly man heads off to buy some supplies in rural area. Vanishes. Found passed out the next day in a ditch on the way to his home. Both eyes removed surgically. Doesn't remember much about what happened. Some people believe it was Ace. Others speculate he was kidnapped and had his eyes stolen by cultists. I'm more inclined to believe the latter, since the investigation was suppressed by the local authorities.